There's something few people say out loud, yet it echoes in the hallways of health clinics, in whispered conversations between lifelong friends, and especially in the comments under videos like this one. I'm tired of taking so many pills. These words come from someone who carries a strip of medication for blood pressure, another for cholesterol, 2 more for joint pain, and occasionally a pill to help sleep. The face shows exhaustion, but it's in the eyes that the unanswered question lives. Does it really have to be this way? Is there a more natural path, less harsh, more respectful to the aging body? It's from this deep, real, everyday doubt that the search for natural remedies is born, not out of trend, not in rebellion against medicine, but out of necessity, fatigue, and hope. In social media groups, casual chats and hushed consultations with older neighbors, certain names come up like sacred mantras: chamomile tea, turmeric on an empty stomach, raw garlic, lemon water, propolis, soursop leaves, arnica tincture, copaiba oil. Each one carries promises: fewer side effects, more vitality, less dependence on pharmaceutical companies. For many seniors, what begins as curiosity becomes routine, and what becomes routine turns into conviction. I feel better with this. I'm no longer in pain, I stopped using pharmacy medicine, but do they really work? Or are we witnessing the power of a psychological phenomenon called the placebo effect? Or maybe these natural remedies do work, but only for certain bodies, depending on age, diet, or genetics. The truth is, after 60, the body changes, and with it, so do the effects of medications, even of teas and natural extracts. The liver slows down, the kidneys filter less efficiently, the gut absorbs nutrients differently. That means a fennel tea might help a 30-year-old's digestion, but cause bloating or interfere with a 70-year-old woman's medications. And that's the central point. Natural does not automatically mean harmless. Still, this growing interest in natural alternatives reveals something profound: a legitimate desire for autonomy, for control over one's own body, for aging with dignity instead of chemical dependency. Recent studies show that nearly 60% of seniors in Brazil have used some form of natural treatment in the past 12 months. It's a significant figure, highlighting a growing trend, but also an urgency to understand, with scientific evidence, what truly works and what is myth. And beyond that, how to integrate the best of traditional wisdom with modern medicine without compromising safety. That's the starting point of this video. Here, the goal is not to blindly praise natural remedies, nor to dismiss them as nonsense. The goal is different: to look with respect but with rigor, with an open heart, but feet firmly grounded in science. In this video, you'll discover which natural remedies have proven scientific backing, which may be dangerous when combined with conventional medications, and how aging changes the way once safe substances affect the body. You'll understand why some doctors still frown upon herbal medicine, while others are rewriting medical practice with a new approach, one that unites science and nature. You'll learn how to build a safe, balanced, and personalized wellness routine with teas, foods, and habits that truly make a difference for those over 60. And in the end, maybe you won't have to choose between tea and pills. Maybe true wisdom lies right in the middle, where care becomes awareness, and nature is not the enemy of science, but its oldest ally. Before there were pharmacies, instruction leaflets, and names hard to pronounce, there was the backyard. There, among mint, lemon balm, and rosemary, lived a silent wisdom passed down through generations, almost always from mothers to daughters, from grandmothers to curious grandchildren. When someone had a stomachache, Boldo tea was the remedy. For insomnia, chamomile. When the throat started to scratch, you simply boiled honey with lemon and ginger. No need to understand anatomy or study pharmacology. Just observe nature and trust in the effects it revealed over time. Natural remedies weren't born in laboratories. They came from the fields, the forests, the hands of women who knew that a leaf could heal more than a speech ever could. This folk knowledge isn't unique to Brazil. Around the world, ancient peoples treated their ailments with what was available nearby: roots, barks, flowers, fruits. Traditional Chinese medicine, for example, has used natural compounds like ginseng, ginkgo biloba, and green tea for thousands of years. In India, the Ayurvedic system combines herbs like turmeric, tulsi, and ashwagandha to treat everything from joint pain to memory issues. In the Amazon rainforest, indigenous peoples developed detailed knowledge of local medicinal plants, knowledge that continues to impress international researchers today. And even in Brazilian cities, grandma's remedies are still the first line of relief for many seniors. But what began as empirical wisdom has gradually caught the eye of science. Over the last 30 years, research into phytotherapy, the scientific use of medicinal plants, has grown rapidly in universities, research centers, and even within Brazil's public health system. That's right, the SUS, Sistema Único de Saúde, has officially recognized phytotherapy as a valid therapeutic practice since 2006. This opened the door for doctors, nutritionists, and pharmacists to safely prescribe teas and extracts backed by clinical studies. Turmeric, for instance, is now widely studied for its anti-inflammatory potential, garlic for its role in blood pressure regulation, and chamomile for its scientifically proven calming effects. And here comes a surprising fact. The natural products market is growing every year in Brazil and worldwide, largely driven by people over 60. That's because older adults not only face more chronic conditions like high blood pressure, arthritis, insomnia, digestive problems, and weakened immunity, but also develop greater awareness of the side effects of traditional medications. It's in this context that natural remedies re-emerge, no longer just as tradition but as a studied, regulated, and, in many cases, effective alternative. And this reunion of science and tradition isn't a trend, it's a necessity. Still, it's important to remember, just because something is natural doesn't mean it's automatically safe or effective. The difference between a healing tea and a poison often lies in the dosage and in the body receiving it. That's why today's approach to natural remedies is not the same as before. It's no longer just about making tea the way your grandmother taught. It's about understanding what that tea does inside the body, how it interacts with medications, which effects it enhances or neutralizes. Modern phytotherapy requires knowledge, responsibility, and above all, professional guidance. The time of magical recipes is over. Now is the time to integrate the best of both worlds, the wisdom of the past with the precision of the present. Seeing natural remedies as complementary tools, not total replacements for modern medicine, is the most important step for anyone who wants to age with health and awareness. A tea may not cure a serious illness, but it can relieve symptoms, improve well-being, and even aid in recovery. A diet rich in natural compounds can reduce the risk of degenerative diseases. An essential oil can calm the mind, improve sleep, ease pain. And all of this can and should go hand in hand with conventional treatments through open communication between patients and healthcare providers. The truth is that natural remedies never disappeared. What changed was how we look at them, with more respect, more science, more care. The knowledge of the fields now walks into the doctor's office. And that is a victory not only for medicine, but for the accumulated wisdom of those who have always believed that nature heals when used with consciousness. In the search for better health and less dependence on strong medications, many seniors have turned to what they see as gentler, more natural solutions. But do these remedies actually work? What does science have to say about the teas, herbs, roots, and foods, often praised as health allies after the age of 60? This is the moment to separate popular belief from what is supported by solid scientific evidence. Because yes, some natural remedies are backed by research, but others, despite their reputation, still lack thorough studies or have even been disproven by serious clinical trials. And knowing the difference can be the fine line between well-being and frustration, or even between safety and risk. Let's start with one of the most popular, garlic. Used for centuries as a home remedy, it caught the attention of scientists due to its sulfur compounds, especially allicin. Studies from the American Heart Association indicate that daily garlic consumption may help lower blood pressure, particularly in individuals with mild hypertension. There's also evidence it may help lower LDL, bad cholesterol, and raise HDL, good cholesterol. However, for real benefits, garlic must be consumed raw or in concentrated extracts, and always in moderation, as excessive intake can irritate the stomach or interact with anticoagulants like warfarin. Another favorite is ginger, well known for its use against nausea, muscle pain, and inflammation. A study published in the Journal of Pain found that ginger can be as effective as anti-inflammatory medications for relieving muscle pain in older adults when taken in powdered form over several consecutive days. It also aids digestion and can ease nausea symptoms, including during chemotherapy. But caution is advised. Ginger has vasodilatory effects and may affect blood pressure or heart rate in sensitive individuals. And what about chamomile tea, used for anxiety, insomnia, and even digestive issues? According to a study from the University of Pennsylvania, chamomile demonstrated a mild but real effect in reducing anxiety symptoms in older adults, especially when combined with other relaxation practices. Additionally, drinking it before bed can improve sleep quality. But beware, chamomile can cause allergic reactions in people sensitive to the daisy family, and as a mild blood thinner, should be used carefully by those already taking anticoagulant medications. Among natural anti-inflammatories, turmeric, or curcuma, has stood out as one of the most researched. Its active compound, curcumin, has strong anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Research from Harvard Medical School and the University of Tokyo shows that continuous use of turmeric may help reduce joint inflammation and pain associated with rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis, conditions common in the elderly. However, curcumin has low absorption, and its effect is significantly enhanced when combined with black pepper, which contains piperine. Without this combination, the tea or supplement may be far less effective. Green tea, another well-known remedy, also deserves mention. Rich in catechins, especially epigallocatechin gallate, EGCG, it has shown positive effects on brain and cardiovascular health in multiple studies. In seniors, regular green tea consumption has been linked to reduced cognitive decline, improved circulation, and lower inflammatory markers. But since it contains caffeine, it can interfere with sleep and should be avoided by individuals with gastric issues or uncontrolled hypertension. And propolis, long used as a natural antiseptic. Studies from the University of Campinas, Unicamp, have demonstrated its effectiveness as an immunomodulator, meaning it helps the immune system respond better to threats like colds, infections, and inflammation. For older adults, its use can be beneficial, especially during winter, but it should be monitored due to the risk of allergic reactions or liver overload when consumed excessively. Finally, we have herbs like fennel, boldo, lemon balm, valerian, and passion flower, commonly used to treat digestive issues, anxiety, and insomnia. Most of these herbs have some degree of scientific support, even if their effects are mild and slow. Valerian, for instance, has shown some sleep-inducing effectiveness in studies by the National Sleep Foundation, but with considerable variation depending on the individual. Boldo, while effective as a digestive aid, can be toxic to the liver if used frequently or in high concentrations. The most important message here is that natural remedy does not mean miracle, and certainly not risk-free. Many do work, yes, but not for everyone, not in the same way, and not always quickly. Above all, they should never be used as substitutes for essential medical treatments, especially for chronic conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, or heart disease. Science has already validated many of these natural resources, but safe, effective, and conscious use always requires proper information and professional guidance. There's a truth rarely mentioned when someone recommends a calming tea or a medicinal herb capsule. The body of someone over 60 does not respond the same way as that of a 30-year-old. This isn't a limitation, it's a physiological reality that must be acknowledged with care and wisdom. As we age, a series of silent transformations take place in our bodies, and these changes directly affect how any substance, natural or not, is processed, absorbed, and eliminated. That's why when we talk about herbal medicine for seniors, we're referring to a field that requires more than just faith in nature. It requires science, supervision, and common sense. To begin with, metabolism slows down. This means the liver, responsible for filtering and processing everything we ingest, starts to work at a slower pace. As a result, active compounds in medicinal plants, such as flavonoids, alkaloids, tannins, and essential oils, stay longer in the body, which can enhance their therapeutic effects, but also increase the risk of unwanted reactions. In a younger body, valerian tea might gently induce sleep, but for an older person already taking anxiety or antidepressant medications, that same dose could cause excessive drowsiness, low blood pressure, or even mental confusion. Another critical aspect involves the kidneys, which also experience a natural decline in function with age. Since many compounds found in teas and natural extracts are excreted through the kidneys, the risk of kidney overload increases when these substances are consumed frequently or in high doses. This is especially important for seniors with a history of mild renal insufficiency, a common but often overlooked condition. For example, frequent consumption of green tea may raise oxalate levels in the blood and contribute to kidney stone formation, especially in more sensitive individuals. Then there's the interaction between conventional medications and medicinal plants, perhaps the most silent trap of all. Many older adults take medications regularly for blood pressure, heart conditions, diabetes, or cholesterol. And it's not uncommon for a tea that seems harmless to interfere with the effectiveness of these drugs. St. John's wort, Hypericum perforatum, for instance, is widely used as a natural antidepressant, but it can reduce the effectiveness of medications like simvastatin, digoxin, anticonvulsants, and even anticoagulants. Turmeric can enhance the effects of blood thinners and lead to bleeding. Ginger can alter blood sugar in diabetics and affect blood pressure if consumed in high quantities. These effects don't mean natural remedies are inherently dangerous, but they clearly aren't neutral. And the older we get, the more sensitive our bodies become to any chemical stimulus, even those from plants. This means what works for one 65-year-old may be ineffective or even risky for another at 75, depending on medical history, current medications, and even diet. That's why more and more doctors, nutritionists, and pharmacists are advocating for a personalized approach to herbal medicine, one that takes into account age, pre-existing conditions, lifestyle habits, and ongoing treatments. A practical example. For a senior with mild insomnia who doesn't take continuous medication, lemon balm may be a helpful ally. But for someone taking antidepressants or anxiety meds, that same herb could alter neurological balance. The same goes for those with digestive issues, people on stomach medications, or those experiencing mood swings. But there's also a promising side to all this. When guided properly, herbal medicine can help reduce the reliance on conventional drugs, improve quality of life, and even ease symptoms that once seemed unsolvable, like chronic joint pain, sleep disturbances, low immunity, persistent fatigue, or mild anxiety. Instead of abandoning traditional medicine, many seniors are now finding ways to rebalance their treatment plans by incorporating natural substances under professional guidance. And beyond the physical benefits, there's something deeper: the simple act of preparing a tea with care, respecting its steeping time, selecting the right herbs, and sitting down to enjoy it calmly. All of this creates a moment of self-care that strengthens self-esteem, fosters a sense of autonomy, and reconnects the person to their own natural rhythm. In other words, herbal medicine, when used wisely, doesn't just heal what hurts. It teaches us how to care for, respect, and listen to the aging body. So the real challenge is not to discourage the use of natural remedies, it's to teach how to use them wisely, especially when time has already taught us so many other lessons. Nature remains a powerful ally, but in later life it must walk hand in hand with knowledge, science, and the attentive guidance of those who understand that every body has its own story. Homeopathy has always stirred strong emotions. For some, it's a source of real relief, a safe path to treat anxiety, pain, allergies, insomnia, and even chronic conditions, all without harming the body. For others, it's nothing more than expensive sugar, an illusion sold in elegant bottles with complex names and vague promises. But where does the truth lie? What does science really say about homeopathy? And more importantly, does it work for older adults? It's time to explore this topic deeply, with respect for both the personal stories of those who have felt improvement and the objective data offered by modern medicine. First, we must understand what homeopathy is. Created in the 18th century by German physician Samuel Hahnemann, homeopathy is based on two principles: like cures like and ultra-dilution. The first suggests that a substance that causes symptoms in a healthy person can, in highly diluted doses, cure those same symptoms in someone who is ill. The second principle holds that the more diluted a substance is, the greater its healing power, a notion that contradicts the logic of conventional pharmacology, where more concentration usually means more effect. Homeopathic substances are diluted so many times that, in many cases, Not a single active molecule of the original substance remains in the final solution. What remains, according to homeopathy, is the memory of water, a kind of energetic imprint that the body can recognize. And that's where the controversy begins. For most scientists, this explanation defies the established laws of chemistry and physics. The Brazilian Federal Council of Medicine officially recognizes homeopathy as a medical specialty, but notes that its mechanisms of action are not fully understood, and that robust evidence of its effectiveness in many conditions is still lacking. Nonetheless, studies have shown that patients treated with homeopathy report significant improvement in symptoms like chronic pain, anxiety, migraines, and irritable bowel syndrome. A large study in Switzerland followed over 3,500 people for 5 years and found that 77% reported improved overall health with regular homeopathic treatment. Among older adults, satisfaction rates were even higher. However, there's an important factor to consider. These results may be explained by the placebo effect, when belief in a treatment alone is enough to bring real improvement, especially in emotional or subjective symptoms. And here lies a crucial point. For a senior dealing with mild anxiety, insomnia, recurring pain, or side effects from medication, the placebo effect is not a weakness, it's a gift. If a treatment, even without proven pharmacological action, can relieve symptoms, improve sleep, ease tension, and restore well-being, it has real value, especially when homeopathy has virtually no side effects, as long as it's used under the supervision of a qualified professional. In fact, many older adults see something in homeopathy that's often missing from conventional medicine: time. Homeopathic consultations are usually longer, more empathetic, with active listening and a holistic focus on the whole person, not just the disease. This approach, which considers emotional history, habits, family environment, and even past traumas, contributes meaningfully to feelings of care and connection, which in themselves already promote healing. On the other hand, a clear warning is needed. Homeopathy should never replace essential treatments for serious or progressive chronic diseases such as cancer, diabetes, hypertension, or heart failure. Abandoning conventional medicine in favor of exclusive faith in homeopathy can lead to irreversible conditions and loss of quality of life. Expert guidance is clear. Homeopathy can be an ally, but never a substitute. It must be used responsibly and under supervision from a qualified professional. It's also important to remember that not all products marketed as homeopathic are regulated or trustworthy. The safest option is to seek treatment prescribed by licensed doctors who are registered with the Regional Medical Council and have certified training in homeopathy. Avoid using homemade remedies without clear origin or formulas recommended by friends. Every body is unique, and what works for one person may cause unwanted effects in another. In short, homeopathy walks a fine line between science, tradition, and belief. For many seniors, it represents more than just a treatment. It represents autonomy, hope, and gentle care. And even if science still questions its mechanisms, the reports of relief, when supported by healthy habits and proper guidance, cannot be ignored. In the end, what matters most is that the person feels well, respected, and safe. And if that's possible with the help of a tiny, diluted dose of hope, then perhaps that is a very legitimate form of healing. There's an old saying, "Let food be thy medicine." This phrase, attributed to the father of medicine, Hippocrates, becomes even more powerful when we talk about health in later life. After the age of 60, the body begins to respond differently to excesses, processed foods, and the silent habits of modern life. What used to be just heavy food can now cause discomfort, pain, inflammation, and changes in sleep, mood, and even memory. And it is precisely at this stage that natural eating stops being about looks or trends and becomes a genuine form of preventive treatment backed by science. Studies from institutions like the Harvard School of Public Health, the University of Oxford, and Japan's National Institute of Longevity have shown, with solid data, that certain nutrients have a direct impact on preventing common age-related illnesses like Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, osteoporosis, and even some types of cancer. And the most fascinating part, these nutrients are found in simple, affordable foods, many of which are already part of traditional diets. The key lies in how we use them. with strategy, consistency, and balance. Let's begin with raw garlic, already mentioned earlier for its medicinal properties. It contains sulfur compounds that act as natural anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial agents. Studies show that regular consumption of garlic can help lower blood pressure and improve blood circulation, both essential for seniors who want to prevent strokes and heart attacks. Turmeric, with its powerful antioxidant action, is also a standout, especially in combating chronic inflammation, including joint issues like rheumatoid arthritis. But for it to be truly effective, turmeric needs to be combined with black pepper, which enhances curcumin absorption in the body. Red fruits like strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, and blueberries are rich sources of anthocyanins, compounds that protect neurons and blood vessels. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition confirmed that frequent consumption of these berries is associated with a reduced risk of cognitive decline in older adults. They also help regulate blood sugar, slow skin aging, and strengthen the immune system. Another powerful ally for brain health is flaxseed, which is rich in plant-based omega-3s and lignans, compounds that regulate hormones and protect the heart. Foods like oats, chickpeas, lentils, and beans are excellent sources of soluble fiber and plant protein. Fiber helps control cholesterol and glucose levels, while keeping digestion regular, a common concern in later life. Meanwhile, plant-based proteins, when combined with grains like brown rice, provide all essential amino acids, helping to maintain muscle mass, vital for preventing falls and maintaining independence. And what about extra virgin olive oil, the foundation of the famous Mediterranean diet? Rich in monounsaturated fats and bioactive compounds, olive oil helps protect the heart, reduce inflammation, and support brain health. Among seniors, regular consumption has been linked to lower rates of cardiovascular and neurodegenerative diseases. The same goes for dark chocolate, 70% or more cocoa, which contains flavonoids that can improve mood, cognitive function, and peripheral circulation when consumed in small, sugar-free amounts. Let's not forget the humble and powerful leafy green kale, especially curly kale and collard greens. Packed with plant-based calcium, magnesium, vitamin K, and antioxidants, these greens help support bone health, aid in liver detoxification, and protect against various types of systemic inflammation. Adding kale to juices, salads, or stir-fries can be a small step with big benefits. It's also worth mentioning green tea when consumed in moderation. It contains catechins that help speed up metabolism, reduce visceral fat, and protect the brain from oxidative stress. But be cautious. Due to its caffeine content, it should be avoided at night or by those with sensitivity, gastritis, or insomnia. Now the most important point, it's not enough to just know these foods, or to use them sporadically or in excess. The secret lies in consistency, proper combinations, and preparation methods. A green juice on an empty stomach won't work miracles, but including it in a balanced routine with fewer processed foods, less sugar, and more plant diversity can indeed transform your health. And the most beautiful part? This transformation doesn't require expensive pills or trendy diets. It requires a daily act of care, choosing what we put on our plate. Aging with health doesn't mean giving up pleasures. It means learning to choose better. And on this journey, natural food can be both shield and sword. It protects, heals, strengthens, and even inspires, because eating well, with awareness, is also an act of self-love. A simple habit that, over time, becomes one of the most powerful remedies nature has ever given us. In a world saturated with pills and prescriptions, it's easy to understand why so many people seek natural alternatives for their health, especially after age 60, when the list of medications often grows more than one would like. The appeal of natural is strong, fewer side effects, gentler on the body, a closer connection to nature, and lower cost. But there's a hidden danger along this path, the false sense of safety that many natural remedies carry. When something is labeled natural, it's common to assume it can't cause harm. And that's exactly where the silent risk lies. Not everything that comes from nature is safe. Not everything natural is harmless. And most importantly, what works for one person can be dangerous for another, especially in old age. One of the biggest risks lies in drug interactions. Many older adults take regular medications to manage blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, heart problems, depression, anxiety, and chronic pain. And even if their doctor monitors these prescriptions, They often don't know what else the patient is taking on the side. A tea here, a capsule there, a homemade tincture recommended by a friend. The problem is that these natural substances can enhance, weaken, or directly interfere with the effects of prescribed medications. Turmeric, for example, is an excellent natural anti-inflammatory, but it can increase the risk of bleeding when combined with anticoagulants. Hibiscus tea, popular for weight loss, can dangerously lower blood pressure in those already taking antihypertensive drugs. St. John's wort, used for depression, can block the action of many medications, including anticonvulsants and cardiovascular drugs. Another risk comes from excessive doses or prolonged use without breaks. The belief that, if it's natural, I can take as much as I want, has already led many seniors to liver toxicity, kidney overload, arrhythmias, and severe allergic reactions. A common example is Boldo, great for digestion but highly toxic to the liver when overused. The same goes for propolis, which can trigger serious allergic responses, especially in those sensitive to its compounds. It's important to remember that the liver and kidneys of an older person don't process substances the same way as a younger body. The filtering and elimination capacity is reduced, making the body more vulnerable to toxin buildup, even natural ones. And we can't ignore the danger of self-medication fueled by social media, online videos, and homemade recipes with no medical backing. While the internet has made health information more accessible, it has also opened the door to countless claims of miraculous natural cures based on assumptions, popular myths, or dangerous trends. It's not uncommon to see recipes combining herbs with honey, lemon, garlic, vinegar, and baking soda, promoted as solutions for everything, from colds to cancer. Worse still, many elderly people tired of so many medications place blind faith in these remedies and abandon their medical treatments, putting their lives at risk. Another serious concern is the quality and origin of natural products on the market. Bulk teas, uncertified capsules, homemade extracts with no dosage control, low-purity essential oils, all can pose silent threats. Contrary to what many believe, natural remedies also need quality control, expiration dates, proper storage, batch tracking, and usage guidance. Buying medicinal plants from markets or unregulated shops can mean ingesting something contaminated with pesticides, fungi, heavy metals, or even misidentified species, something that has already caused fatal cases in Brazil. And then there's the most subtle risk of all, delaying an important diagnosis. When an elderly person experiences pain, dizziness, trouble sleeping, swelling, or any other symptom, and decides to try a tea or natural remedy first, they may end up masking a serious issue. While temporarily soothing symptoms with plants, they lose precious time to identify the real cause with a healthcare professional. Natural medicine can relieve, but it rarely replaces a precise diagnosis. That's why experts are clear. Natural remedies should only be used under professional guidance, especially in old age. This doesn't mean abandoning nature's gifts, but using them with wisdom, respect, and proper judgment. Combining the best of herbal medicine and natural nutrition with conventional medical care can indeed bring real benefits, but it must be done safely. A tea can calm, an extract can relieve, a nutrient-rich diet can prevent illness. But everything must be aligned with the professionals who know your health history. Aging with autonomy and awareness means knowing how to make informed choices, and that includes recognizing that not everything natural is automatically good. When misused, nature's remedies can also harm, and the best way to use what the earth offers is to turn these remedies into allies, never into risky bets. A new kind of doctor is emerging around the world, and increasingly also in Brazil. A doctor who doesn't scoff when a patient says they drink chamomile tea to sleep or take turmeric for pain. A doctor who listens with respect to the wisdom that comes from life experience, from grandparents, from traditional healers, from home gardens, and lovingly prepared infusions. A professional who doesn't just prescribe but talks, who understands that health is more than test results and pills. It's also about routines, beliefs, affection, and habits. This generation of modern, human-centered physicians is helping build a new path for health in later life, a path that unites science and folk wisdom without dismissing or idolizing either side. This movement is part of a global trend known as integrative medicine. It doesn't reject conventional treatments, but it also doesn't ignore the benefits that natural and complementary therapies can offer. This approach is used in top hospitals, like the MD Anderson Cancer Center in the United States and the Albert Einstein Hospital in Brazil. In these institutions, doctors, nutritionists, physical therapists, and psychologists work together to integrate practices such as herbal medicine, acupuncture, meditation, yoga, functional nutrition, and even flower remedies into the treatment of chronic and complex illnesses, always based on scientific evidence and regular monitoring. And the most interesting part, this modern perspective directly aligns with what many older adults have been doing instinctively for years. The woman who drinks lemon balm tea to relax, the man who eats raw garlic to strengthen immunity, the neighbor who soaks her feet in rue to ease pain. Instead of fighting these habits, today's updated doctors want to understand them and, when appropriate, safely integrate them into traditional treatments. After all, care passed down through tradition can be validated by science, and care informed by science can be humanized by tradition. In practice, this means that today's best healthcare professionals don't reject herbal medicine. They prescribe it with caution, proper dosage, and follow-up. They don't dismiss natural nutrition. They encourage strategic use of functional foods based on lab tests and individual goals. They also don't ridicule practices like aromatherapy, meditation, or walks in nature. They recognize their power to improve emotional well-being, sleep, pain, and even immunity, and more. They understand that when older patients feel heard and respected in their beliefs, they adhere better to treatment, take medications properly, and regain their autonomy more quickly. That's why, when seeking medical advice, seniors should look not only for a knowledgeable doctor, but one who listens and has an open mind. And this applies to all health professionals: cardiologists, nutritionists, psychologists, pharmacists. Always ask, can this tea I'm drinking interfere with my medications? Or, is there a natural alternative to complement this treatment? An up-to-date professional won't see these questions as a challenge, but as a sign of wisdom and self-care. Another essential point is treatment individualization. What works for one older person might not work for another. The dosage, the combination of therapies, and sensitivity to certain natural compounds, all of this needs to be tailored according to medical history, lab tests, diet, sleep patterns, and even emotional state. That's why it's crucial to avoid one-size-fits-all solutions that promise natural cures for everything. There's no miracle tea, universal supplement, or fail-proof diet. There is a unique body with a unique story that requires unique care. It's also important to remember, science is not the enemy of nature, and nature is not the enemy of science. On the contrary, many of the substances in modern pharmaceuticals were originally extracted from medicinal plants. Acetylsalicylic acid came from white willow. Morphine comes from the poppy. Metformin, used for diabetes, has its roots in a plant called galega. In other words, modern medicine exists because nature once spoke and science listened. What we do today is continue that dialogue, but with more technology, more data, and greater safety. The mission of today's forward-thinking health professionals is to help older adults build a bridge between what life has taught them and what science has discovered in laboratories. It's not about choosing between tea or a pill. It's about understanding how each can work together, respecting their limits and enhancing their benefits. The informed, supported, and well-guided senior becomes the true protagonist of their health. And that, more than any medication, is what truly transforms lives. After so much information, research, warnings, and possibilities, the most important question arises: how can we apply all of this in our daily lives in a practical, safe, and effective way? Because it's not enough to know that turmeric is anti-inflammatory or that chamomile tea is calming. You need to know when to take it, how much to take, and most importantly, whether your body can handle it. Creating a routine with natural therapies requires more than good intentions. It requires planning, listening to your body, professional guidance, and consistency. It's not about searching for miracles, but about cultivating habits that over time become quiet allies to your health. The first step is to look at the whole picture. Before adding any tea, supplement, or functional food, take a complete look at your current medications, recent lab results, and frequent symptoms. Write it all down. What you take in the morning, afternoon, and evening. Include vitamins, pharmacy medications, home remedies, oils, ointments, everything. Then reflect. Do you experience side effects? Is there a recurring complaint that conventional medicine hasn't solved? How are you sleeping? How's your digestion, your morning energy, your memory? With this overview in hand, you'll be able to build a natural routine that complements and doesn't conflict with your current care. The second step is to seek personalized guidance. This could come from a doctor trained in phytotherapy, a functional nutritionist, a compounding pharmacist experienced with older adults, or even a general practitioner willing to research the effects of plants. What matters is that you don't self-medicate, even if it's just a tea. A simple hibiscus infusion might lower your blood pressure too much. A valerian capsule could interact with a tranquilizer you're already taking. A propolis extract could trigger an allergy you didn't know you had. That's why, even if it seems simple, always confirm with a professional. Then it's time to build your daily routine with balance. You don't have to change your entire life overnight. Start small. A relaxing tea at the end of the day, an extra natural spice in your food, a green juice twice a week, a 15-minute walk in the morning. As your body responds well, adjust and expand your care. The secret is in consistency. It's what you do every day and not once in a while that builds health. Here's an example of a safe routine for people over 60. Morning, empty stomach. Kale, lemon and ginger juice, refreshing and detoxifying. Breakfast. Add oats and flaxseed to fruit or yogurt. Fiber, omega-3s and sustained energy. Before lunch, a spoonful of extra virgin olive oil and turmeric in your meal, anti-inflammatory and heart protective. Afternoon, warm chamomile or lemon balm tea. Gentle calming, ideal to reduce tension. Dinner. A light meal with cooked vegetables, low salt and little fat. Before bed, passion fruit and orange leaf infusion, natural sleep inducer. But note, this is just a general example. Your routine should respect your clinical conditions, medications, lifestyle, and preferences, and all of this should be adjusted over time with body awareness and professional follow-up. What works for you today may need to be changed in a few months, because the body changes, health changes, and life demands flexibility. Another essential point is the quality of natural products. Buy teas and herbs from trustworthy sources, preferably organic or certified. Always check expiration dates, storage conditions, and preparation methods. Ideally, use dried or fresh plants and avoid compounded capsules without a prescription. For supplements, choose brands with a good reputation and transparent technical reports. And don't forget, health isn't only in what you consume, but also in what you think, feel, and do. A natural routine is only truly therapeutic when it's accompanied by quality sleep, emotional connections, a sense of purpose, joy in small moments, and movement. Walking, dancing, tending to a plant, talking to a friend. All of this also heals, even if it doesn't come in a tea or pill. Finally, take notes. Keep a health journal to track how you feel after starting a tea, supplement, or dietary change. This will help you and your trusted health professional recognize patterns, identify positive or negative effects, and adjust your routine as needed. A small notebook can become a powerful ally in your autonomy. Creating a safe routine with natural therapies isn't complicated, it's intentional. And that care, when guided by knowledge and respect for your body, transforms. Nature remains generous, but after 60, it must be received with awareness, with humility, and with the pride of someone who has already learned that caring for yourself is the greatest act of love a person can practice. There is a quiet beauty in those who care for themselves gently. A tea prepared with their own hands, a meal chosen with intention, a walk taken not out of obligation, but for joy. When care stops being just a reaction to illness and becomes an act of love, something changes deeply, not just in the body, but in the soul. At 60, 70, 80 years old, health is no longer about racing against time, but about walking alongside it. And it's in this slower, more mindful rhythm that nature finally finds space to be heard. After decades of listening to doctors, taking pills, enduring tests and waiting rooms, many older adults rediscover something they always knew deep down, that healing also lives in the simple, in a boldo tea that soothes, in an herbal bath that calms, in a spoonful of flaxseed that brings balance. But now, with everything science has revealed, this ancestral knowledge gains new strength. It's no longer just tradition, it's wisdom with validation, it's nature with science. Say it's faith with foundation, and most beautifully it's autonomy. It's the right to care for oneself, to be part of one's choices, to be heard, to be respected. Far from opposing medicine, natural remedies prove to be a powerful complement when used with responsibility, knowledge, and love. They don't promise miracles, but they offer relief. They don't cure everything, but they help a lot. And above all, they teach. Because every infusion, every spice, every herb carries a lesson that living well doesn't depend solely on medicine. It depends on presence, on intention, and on balance. And when that balance is found, longevity becomes more than just a number of years. It becomes quality of life, clarity, joy, autonomy, and peace. Aging with health doesn't mean being immune to problems. It means learning to face them with more grace. It's understanding that the body does change, but it can still be strong, active, and sharp with the right care. It's knowing that the medicine you take might come from a pharmacy, the earth, or the kitchen, and that all of them have their place, as long as they're used with wisdom. And that the true secret isn't just in what you consume, but in what you cultivate. Good thoughts, good habits, good conversations, good choices. Today, more than ever, nature is on our side. And it speaks, through the leaves that heal, the roots that strengthen, the fruits that nourish, the water that cleanses, the sun that warms. You only need to listen, to respect, to remember that the same body that has endured so much still has so much more to live, with health, with dignity, with love. And if this video can inspire you to take even the smallest step toward that care, then it has already fulfilled its purpose. Because caring for yourself is not selfish, it's wisdom. And living well after 60 is not luck. It's a choice, a construction, and you still have time, tools, support, and knowledge to make those choices every day. A tea, a conversation, a walk, all of it is a beginning. And every beginning, no matter your age, is always a form of rebirth.